Hi, fourth grade friends. Miss John here to present your next EL lessons. This is actually two lessons, Module 1, Unit 2, Lessons 10 and 11. Today, our goal is going to be to do a little prep work and then write our introduction and proof paragraph 1 for a literary essay about Valerie Worth. So here are our learning targets. I can recognize and write a complete sentence. I can recognize and correct fragments and run-on sentences. And I can plan and write an introductory paragraph and proof paragraph 1 for my essay. Okay, so let's talk about producing complete sentences. You are going to see here on the screen that we've got a few examples of complete sentences on the left-hand side. And you will also see this on page 63 of your module workbook. So the first little thing to note, I'm actually going to work from right over here, right there, friends. Whoops. Is that a complete sentence has a subject and a predicate and it expresses a thought, a complete thought. Sentences start with capital letters. They end in punctuation, a period, an exclamation point, a question mark. So there are some examples of sentences. You can see here we've got William Carlos Williams was a poet, capital W, C, and W, because that's a proper noun. That means it is the name of a specific person, place, or thing. So William Carlos Williams is capitalized. It ends in a punctuation mark, which is a period. And we know what William Carlos Williams was because it's described here. He was a poet. Here's another sentence. This short poem helps us understand the beauty of a common wheelbarrow. Now, you are going to watch a video, a subject and predicate video. It is linked here. We will also link that in your Google Classroom assignments so that you can see it. It's about subjects and predicates. So let me give you a little hint here. Subjects are the who or what the sentence is about, and the predicate describes what is going on. Okay, so if you look at here or what they were, if you look at this one, the subject is in green, William Carlos Williams. That's who it's about, was a poet. That describes him. This short poem, that's what the sentence is about. What does it do? It helps us understand the beauty of the common wheelbarrow. That's the predicate. So the subject is green, the predicate is underlined. Okay. Now, looking at that 63 in your module workbook, this is a little bit more about subjects and predicates, okay? And fragments and run-on sentences. Friends, fragments are missing either the subject or the predicate, so the thought isn't complete. And run-on sentences have more than one subject with a predicate, but the predicates are joined without punctuation or a conjunction, which is a word that separates two parts of a sentence. So if you look at this top section here in blue, this is the fragment, inspired by everyday objects and the lives of common people. Well, it seems to me like we have a predicate there, but no subject. So we need to add in a subject and write in our complete sentence on page 63. So we might add in this short poem this short poem is inspired by everyday objects and the lives of common people. Okay, so that this short poem, the subject, would be added in to make a complete sentence. This next one says, William Carlos Williams about the things he knew. What in the world could I put there? Well, William Carlos Williams about the things he knew doesn't make any sense, right? So I could put wrote about the things he knew. William Carlos Williams wrote about the things he knew would make sense, wouldn't it? Okay, and then these are run-on sentences. So with these run-on sentences, we need to add either a conjunction or we need to add in a period and separate the sentences. So these want us to add in a conjunction. Okay, so a conjunction, I think of the word fan or the words fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Okay, those are my conjunctions that I think about. So I'm going to see where I can break this sentence apart. He made notes about the things he had heard. He wrote poems about them. I'm going to say and. He made notes about the things he had heard, and he wrote poems about them. Now the sentence makes sense, right? I could also change it and write, He made notes about the things he had heard, period. He wrote poems about them, period. That would work too. And then in the last one, my favorite poem by William Carlos Williams is The Wood Thrush, I Like to Watch Birds. So I need to add in a conjunction. And I'm going to maybe add in 4. My favorite poem about William Carlos Williams is The Wood Thrush, for I like to watch birds. I probably wouldn't say that in my everyday language. I would probably separate it into 2 sentences. My favorite poem by William Carlos Williams is The Wood Thrush, period. I like to watch birds too, period. Okay. So remember, fragments are missing the subject or the predicate, and run-ons are like 2 sentences mushed together, missing their punctuation or missing their conjunction. Okay, so let's talk about the painted essay you did yesterday with your teacher, either myself or Ms. O'Brien. You can find that on pages 60 and 61 of your module workbook. Looking at that introductory paragraph had a purpose. And I want you to think about the purpose of it. It was to catch the reader's attention, give some background information, and clearly state a focused statement that gave both points 1 and 2. Points 1 and 2 were what your proof paragraphs were going to be about. Okay? And proof paragraph 1, the purpose of that one is to give evidence and support to point 1 from your introduction paragraph. So on the William Carlos Williams model literary essay on page 60, we learned about the first thing that inspired William Carlos Williams to write. Okay, so that is what you're going to be working on today. You're going to think about your first inspiration for Valerie Worth, and you're going to be writing those proof paragraphs. Well, proof paragraph 1, in addition to your introduction. So here are the parts of your paragraph that you need to make sure you have. Okay, so with the introductory paragraph, you're going to have some attention catcher, makes the reader want to read your writing. Tell me who your poet is. Tell us what makes her interesting. Okay. So you're going to describe for me that Valerie Worth is your poet. Here's when she was born. Here's where she lived. Here's how she grew up. You're going to give me some information about her. And then you're going to tell me where she found her inspiration from. She found her inspiration in either, we know where she found her inspiration from, but that's going to go in your focus statement, okay? And then in proof paragraph 1, you're going to describe what inspired her, or the very first thing that inspired her, and tell me poems and examples of how it inspired her. So it's just about time to write your introduction paragraph, and I want you to be prepared to do that. So turn to page 54 of your module workbook. I know we're going backwards, and that's right, but this is where you took your notes on Valerie Worth, okay? And I want you to look at the big box on page 54, and I want you to highlight the things in your module workbook that you want to include in your introduction paragraph, okay? So again, those things that you might want to include are her date of birth and date of death, where she was from, where she went to college, who pushed her to write poetry and become famous. You might want to include Natalie Babbitt in that paragraph because she was part of it. Awards she won, and what inspired Valerie Worth. You need to make sure you also have a very clear focus statement. We'll give you that focus statement, y'all, don't worry. And proof paragraph 1 is to identify some of the everyday objects she wrote about and the titles of those poems. So she wrote about poems we read the other day: fireworks, safety pins, porches, grass. Those things you're going to see here on page 55 in your module workbook under what inspired your poet, and where do you see evidence of that in her poetry. Okay, that's the stuff that's going to go, part of the stuff that's going to go in proof paragraph 1. Okay, so those about everyday objects that she wrote about. Don't include anything about animals yet, y'all. Okay, so you're going to be using an attached Google Doc to write your introduction and proof paragraph 1. You should have your introduction and proof paragraph 1 written by the end of EL today. Okay, I know it's 2 paragraphs, but you can do it, friends, because you've already got all your information copied into your module workbook for Valerie Worth for your introduction paragraph. And you've already identified some of the things that inspired her and where the evidence of that is in her poems for proof paragraph 1. So you should be okay. Remember, you have all of EL to work today, as well as your independent work time for EL. And if you get done with your science or social studies this afternoon, you can work on it from 3 to 3:45 if you're not done then. Okay? You can always access Ms. O'Brien or myself during our office hours then as well. So you're going to actually go to your Google Doc, and I'm going to pull that up and show you now. And this is your Google Doc. Okay? And this tells you that you're going to use this document to type up your essay. We're going to be coming back to it over and over. Do not mark your Google Doc complete until September 22nd. We know you're getting it on the 18th. Okay? That's today. But you have got to not turn it in until the 22nd because you're going to use it all those days. Okay? So here's the focus statement you're going to use. This famous poet found inspiration for her poems in children and their shared experiences. Valerie Worth was inspired by everyday objects around her as well as animals, and you can see this in her poetry. So today you're working here, okay? So I wrote in there some reminders of things that you want to include in the introduction paragraph. Background information, the focus statement. Okay, that focus statement's there in green already ready for you. And then in proof paragraph 1, you're going to type it here. You can use these sentence starters to help you write your paragraph. If you want to do it on your own, you can. But if not, that's a great place to begin. Make sure that you have specific information and proof from the poems she wrote that proves that in proof paragraph 1, she was inspired by ordinary objects. Okay? I'm going to even write that there. O-R-D-I-N. Ordinary objects. Okay? And then I'm going to write that one for later. All right. So, a couple quick reminders. Look for the highlighted info to help you remember what to write. Use pages 54 and 55 of your module workbook to help you write and complete sentences. Your sentences need a subject and a predicate. They shouldn't be fragments. They should be run-ons. And remember to include proper punctuation. When you are done, you should read those paragraphs to yourself, but read them out loud because you're going to notice if you make mistakes when you reread through those paragraphs. And a lot of times, if we say it to ourselves in our head and not out loud, we miss the things that we see if we read out loud. So I would encourage you to read those paragraphs out loud and edit through them for any mistakes you may have made. Okay? I want you to remember, friends, you have got to put a space after a comma, put a space after a period or a question mark or an exclamation point. Start each sentence with a capital letter. Start the name of every proper noun, which is the name of a specific person, place, or thing, with a capital letter. The names of your poems should all be capitalized. They should be in quotation marks. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. Just remember the name of your poet needs to be written in capital letters. The name of your poems need to be in capital letters, and your poems need to have quotation marks around them. I think that is it for the day. Happy writing. Do your best. Do not turn this document in. Miss O'Brien and I can still go in and we can still see what you're doing in your document or how much you've completed. So get those 2 paragraphs done today because on Monday, we're moving on to the other 2 paragraphs. You don't want to get behind. Have a wonderful day. I hope your writing goes smoothly and have happy writing.